Hello divas, dudes and dolls, I'm Caricature, and welcome back to my slinky, sensual, and seductive little review show, Very Slay, where we go over each and every floor show look from the Boulet Brothers Dragula Season 6. This week, our top 5 had another performance challenge, but based on the B-movie cult classic horror film Frankenhooker, which is horribly problematic, but like the judges said, it was kind of a fun idea to reclaim this idea of basically the sex worker challenge that we had last season that nobody really did what the Boulets were looking for, and just making it the idea of a Frankenstein character that is a sex worker. I think it made it a little bit easier for them to stay in one lane and not go outside of the Boulets' expectations too much. But this was a real gaggy episode. I wasn't expecting it to end up playing out the way that it did. When we get into these looks, if I thought it got the job done, met the brief, but wasn't anything amazing, we give it an okay. If I love it, we give it a slay. And if I just think that the bits and pieces didn't really come together that well, we give it an A. That's all in efforts to find my weekly slay of the day, my favorite look of the entire episode, and whichever look holds that top spot at the end of the day today, we'll go head to head against Anti-Heroine's monochromatic monsters look from episode 6. Whichever look holds the top spot once we have crowned our next drag super monster. That look will be getting an illustration from me, and sneak peeks of that illustration can be found over at my Patreon by joining at the $3 tier level. If you want even more behind the scenes bonus content, a little bonus video for your nerves, we will be doing a little bonus video going over the looks that the monsters have posted that they were going to wear later on in the competition, how they stayed. I don't know if there's gonna be too many, but we will be going over some of them because there are some pretty fun ones. Those will be coming to the Patreon as well the week after the review, which we're getting pretty close to. We only have like 2 episodes left after today. It's gonna be coming in like the next 3 weeks, so get excited. Also get excited for me, because very, very soon, in the next month, half of these seasons will all be done, and I can sleep a little bit at least, until Canada takes over my life, and then US Season 17 kicks in. Haha. But before we get into these looks, as always, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, all of those lovely little things, if you want to keep even more drag TV fashion coverage in your subscription feeds. And it's all greatly, greatly appreciated. We are very much on the road to 1,000 subscribers, and we are less than 200 away from that goal. So every little click helps and counts, and it's free. And who doesn't love free? I mean, it was just Trans Awareness Week. Put another trans goal in a subscription feed. Be aware of me. Alrighty, as always, we are going to be doing these looks in alphabetical order, starting off with Asia Consent. I loved how Resident Evil this look was. It's very piecemeal. The animal parts I wasn't expecting to work as well as they did. I think that's one thing that Asia and Hoso has this as well, aesthetically, where basically their looks are just like a jumble of random shit. But when you get up close and look at it, it's all these like really intricate details that are intentionally placed, and it makes sense for how chaotic it looks. I'm not mad at it. I think it's fun. I think it was kind of gaggy. She cursed herself, but using the exposed brain to work around being bald and not having a wig or a headpiece this week, quite fun. I thought it was a good idea. Now, the one thing I will say about this whole thing is it's very William Birkin. If William Birkin decided to slay, I'm gonna give it a slay. Just for that, because I think it's quite fun. I wasn't really sure how this look read as a sex worker, other than like tits, you know, but that's kind of Asia's whole thing. So I think she could hit the theme a little bit more on the head comparatively, but it's still really, really good. Especially better than last week, I'll give her that much. Next, we have Anti-Heroine, who went very cartoony with this. I think her biggest problem was that she was so covered up in terms of the costuming. I liked the headpiece, I liked the shape of it, I liked the giant neck bolts, I liked how like overly campy she went with the whole thing. The performance was quite fun, but she had a lot of props to manage. She missed a few lip sync cues, and I landed her in the bottom because of it. They wanted more grimy, more gory, more macabre, and that's where her and Pi both suffered this week because they went so cartoony. It is kind of giving me Frankenberry. If Frankenberry decided to get some Franken booty, you know, I don't know. There was just something about it that, like, compared to all of Auntie's looks, I think this is probably my least favorite of the whole competition. There were some fun gags. There were some reveals in this lip sync performance that I thought were quite good. I liked the proportions of all of it. So it's a well-balanced design, but I just think comparatively to her body of work, it's just, like, not amazing. And I think she has the problem that people like Saint had in season 4, going back to more season 4 comparisons this week, I guess, where she started off really, really strong, and then over the competition, she started to kind of fade out a little bit more, And I think it's just others have risen to the occasion in ways that Auntie hasn't, or that Auntie's better looks were just all up front at the competition, and maybe some of these better looks of the other contestants are later on. It's a bit of a roll of the dice. So I'm gonna give this look just an okay. Then we have Grey Matter, who I think was something really unexpected this week. I was quite surprised that Grey went in such a femme direction in terms of the body. The proportions of the tits were a little bit off for me, I do have to say. Despite that, having them be plugged in to the spark plugs, to the car, to the jumper cables, and jumping her tits, that's quite funny. I thought that was a good idea, and I think it works. It's very in line with that like campy B-movie, like sexploitation kind of vein that Frankenhooker is in. So I thought it was a cute idea. The head on the back of the head, the face on the back of the head, I wasn't expecting either. That was kind of a fun little gag, but I was kind of hoping that Grey's base makeup for his actual face was gonna be just like cunt, you know, like I was hoping for a diva. I was hoping for like this really stunningly gorgeous woman. I don't think Grey has the makeup skills to like turn himself into a stunningly gorgeous woman, because so much of what he does is like haunt characters and monsters. But I think this makes sense within Grey's universe for this challenge. It's just not what I was personally hoping to see from Grey out of it. So I'm gonna give Grey a soft slate this week. Then we have our frozen on ice diva. We have Pie, and I have to say, just the way they had set up this episode, it was so clear to me from the jump that it was gonna be Pie and Auntie in the bottom two, because they kept going on and on and on about Auntie had done like the easiest extermination so far. So it's like, well, they're gonna put her in the whatever they're doing this week just because of that. And then with Pie hadn't done any, and Pie's been talking a big game because, you know, Pie's the only one who's never been in the bottom. Joke's on them, diva. I will say, I had some thoughts about the way that the extermination played out. That will be over on the Patreon in the recap post that I do every single week for every season that we are covering on the channel. So be sure to join as a free member to get in on that. But I thought it was, you know, as a look, I thought it was interesting to go male prostitute for this. It was different. It was nice. It was different. It was unusual. The colors I thought were a little too jarring. I thought it was very like late 90s, early 2000s. Like, I don't know. There were these things I remember from childhood. My cousin had a few of, and a couple boys that I went to school with had these. I cannot for the life of me remember what they were called, but they were these like kind of gross out, monstery action figures. And I never thought they were that cool, but most of the boys I grew up with were just like fascinated with them. But this is what that gave me. The makeup's great. I like the direction of it, how like kind of weird it is. Wasn't expecting to see a gaping asshole dripping with cum. But, wasn't expecting to be uttering that sentence on my YouTube channel either. So maybe it's a good thing I'm not monetized right now. I give this look just an okay. I wasn't incredibly impressed with it, just because like we've seen some similar like muscly stuff out of Pie with like weird body proportions. And I think this was an opportunity for Pie to go like, again, like Grey, to go super, super femme, super over the top, like Jessica Rabbit-y. And I think Pie could have carried it off in that direction incredibly well. And I think Pie just kind of overthought the challenge this week, just a smidge. And finally, we have the real shock of the week, the best look of the night. Spoilers again, if you watched Espana, I guess I'm just blowing the load early. But Yuri today, clearly miles ahead of the rest of the competition. And this look, I know it's a paper drag design. I can't remember who did it. If it's the person I'm thinking of, the illustration was done by somebody else, but the base design was done by somebody who I don't particularly care for on a personal level. So hopefully she got credited either way. You know, it'd be kind of shitty for Yuri to not do that. But I think this look is really cool. I think the color of the lip and the makeup is great for this. It really complements the whole aesthetic. The piecemeal nature of the face mask is cool. I love the cheek implant bits. I think that's quite fun. The sickle at the end of the braid though, that's a diva right there. That is a diva moment and I love it. I think just the whole aesthetic here is great. The makeup's cool. The prosthetic work is fun. The texturing of this bodysuit, like she really nailed the gross skin like decayed flesh kind of vibe that I think they were wanting for this challenge. And she was pulling out stuff in this lip sync that I don't think anybody expected her to be doing. And she just delivered sex on a stick. And I'm not at all surprised that she got the win this week. I know everybody else was in the competition that she did, but this is 1000% a slay today. That's gonna be a wrap from me this week. We will be saying goodbye to one more person before we hit our finale next week. And next week is our Dead by Daylight challenge. So maybe I actually will crack out a little artist cosplay moment for you all next time. We'll just have to see. But like I said just before we got into all of that, Yuri's my slay of the day. Easily. I mean, bar none. Come on. It was the obvious choice. And it's not better than Auntie's look for me. Not even doing the battle. I'm not doing the bout. I've been doing that a lot lately because nothing is just coming close. And it's like, why do extra work for myself when I know this look isn't gonna beat the one that's in that top spot? So we're not gonna do that. But we are just 1 week away from the finale after this next episode. And we're gonna find out real soon who makes that top 3, which I'm glad they've gone back to. But we will see you in the next one. Be sure, as always, to go out there, stay kind, stay queer, and make sure that your day is very slay.